Hi there, welcome to Turtleland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Aquarius energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Aquarius energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy. We all have free will and we have to make decisions in our life, and we battle within ourselves in our free will. And in the top row, we might be moving forward in life differently. We might want to move forward in life differently. But, that can be scary. And so then the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. We'd all like things that we've been investing in to keep working out the way we want, but sometimes we've outgrown that stage of life, and then we have to face our fears about moving forward in life differently, or other things are kind of going on in our life that kind of makes us feel like we got to move on from that phase of life, whether that's things within ourselves, how we think, how we feel. But then that affects kind of who we hang out with and who we align with, and sometimes we just want to give birth to something new, and some of the people in our life don't want to give birth to anything new. And so the bottom row of shadowy energy can be where things kind of feel dead and stagnant and like nothing's ever going to change. And then we kind of realize the only person we can change is ourselves. That's hard. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Four of Cups, which can be sad. There could have been things that we were invested in and a way of living life or people we were hanging out with that maybe at one time in the Three of Cups, it seemed like we were working together more cooperatively. And the reason for the top row's reading is the Justice card, about truth and justice and fairness. And maybe over time, it's just like living our life at a certain phase of life, just like at one time we were 15 and we were 18 and we were 21 and we were 25. Was it just and fair for us to live our life that way? Sure, that's how old we were and it's how we viewed life, and you know. But then if we keep trying to stay in that phase of life, it's like that phase of life emotionally manipulates us, and we can feel in the Four of Cups like we're not kind of facing our fears to get the justice we deserve because we keep repeating an old pattern. And sometimes we're repeating an old pattern, sometimes we're in relationships with people who are repeating an old pattern, and we could have been repeating that pattern again, just like we had a way of living life and viewing life, so we're living our life that way. But high vibe people eventually kind of listen to their intuition and they're like, was this just and fair to live our life this way? Sure, that's where we were at. But I didn't think we were going to stay there forever. Aren't we going to take that cup of love and kind of go to the next phase of life and, keep kind of growing and healing and maturing ourselves? So let's try to jump to the top row now. So if we were living life at a phase of life and our intuition is telling us this phase of life is over, you used to view and live life a certain way, and we live life at a certain phase of life, we come in contact with certain people. Could we have loved them? Could they have loved us? Could we have loved that job, etc.? Yes. But our intuition calls us that it's time to move to the next phase of life. So then I think high vibe people offer truth and love to the people in their life, kind of like I'm ready to move forward in life a little differently than I did before. And I might have worked through some past pain and heartbreak, or maybe before I hadn't learned to love myself. Maybe before I was more manipulated by my fear or my insecurity or codependency, or just that phase of life that I was at. But now I'm kind of ready to take that cup of love to move forward in life differently. Well, in order to do that, people had to work through this card here. If I want to move forward in life differently, I had to quit harnessing this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, or I'd keep living my life the way I lived it and keep hanging out with certain people and viewing life a certain way. And I need to start harnessing this energy in a more high vibrational way. What is it? The Two of Swords in reverse. Well, the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, kind of just like the Justice card over here, which the Justice card is the reason why the top row's reading came out. Well, we could have lived our life in a certain way, and maybe, we had some lessons to learn. Because we were unclear about our truth, certain lessons we hadn't learned in life that kind of kept us stuck, is what the Two of Swords can talk about. But when we learn to love ourselves in the Four of Cups, we work through our shadow nature to take that cup of love, we were no longer stuck. We were no longer in denial of the truth. And some of the people in our life who could have been, just and fair people that we were working with at that stage of life. And, I think it can be kind of a hard thing to kind of understand what I'm trying to say, but just like when we lived our life as an 18-year-old, was it just and fair? Were we in relationships with other people living their life like an 18-year-old? Yes. But then as we kind of live that phase of life, and then, again, that was kind of a phase of life, and then it's like, well, I'm ready to move forward in life differently. If I keep living my life like an 18-year-old, it's going to keep me stuck. I'm not going to kind of grow to my full potential. So I don't want to keep staying stuck. Was it just and fair to live my life a certain way, say, when I was like 18? Yes. But I don't want to stay like 18 forever. It's part of the process of growing up and maturing yourself. And at one time, I viewed life a certain way. I thought a certain way. I viewed certain ways of life and relationship and friendship as just and fair. But as time has went by, I'm not that same person anymore. I am getting justice because I keep offering myself that cup of love to keep growing and maturing myself. And if I keep living my life a certain way, and the bottom row can represent in shadow energy that things are starting to become imbalanced, not balanced. And that's kind of when we listen to our intuition. It's time for me to move forward a little differently, because I might let my fear or my insecurity and all those things, or my codependency or my immaturity, whatever it could be, keep manipulating me. And it's going to get worse and worse if I'm not willing to face my fears of kind of willing to take that cup of love and say it's time for me to move forward a little differently. So with the Two of Swords, like the Justice card being Libra energy, when we're kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently, some other people in our life might not be ready to move forward in life differently because they still view living that life as just and fair. Just like we at different times could have had people in our life that started to go do things kind of differently, and we're like, why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing this? And they're like, I don't know, I just don't find it as enjoyable as I used to. And then we have the Eight of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups. And that can talk about kind of becoming independent out of love for yourself. That if I don't kind of listen to my intuition, I'm going to feel more and more stuck, like staying in a certain job, friendship, or relationship, or ways I might think about myself or feel about myself or whatever, It's all trying to show me there's something wrong here. It's time to go. But in order to go, the truth sets us free. No longer staying in denial of the truth. I need to see the truth about what would keep me kind of in the Four of Cups facing this way. What is it that would keep me repeating this pattern over and over and over. And partly it can be that maybe I don't want to see the truth. The Eight of Pentacles can talk about putting in work and effort to look at some of those things we keep hidden in the dark, or that we don't want to see the truth of. Because in the Eight of Cups, the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. So it's kind of like this card also kind of represents the Seven of Cups. That there was something that we were, a way of living life, a way of viewing life, and friends and people and jobs and things that we were working together with. And if we were to see the truth, we'd maybe have to offer ourselves that cup of love to see that maybe there's some things we need to become independent of. And we'd have to offer ourselves that cup of love to believe in ourselves. And then we have the Death card. And the Death card in Scorpio energy, the Eight of Cups, walks away from the Seven of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. And Scorpio is fixed sign energy. And both Virgo and the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Cups is Pisces energy. And they're mutable signs. In our Scorpio nature, emotionally, we get invested in things and we'd really like those things to work out the way we want, but they're not. And that's when we have this hard time about listening to our intuition and loving and believing in ourselves enough to emotionally detach from something or a way of living life or viewing life. And it can transform our whole life. But it also might mean, some people aren't going to move forward with us in that way. And then the Four of Cups can talk about, feel like we're missing an opportunity in love. But if we've already been in that environment with people, and if we've been offering people truth and love to move forward with us, and they keep saying, no, I'm not ready. Nope. They would also maybe have to emotionally detach from some ways of living life or viewing life, or habits or patterns or vices or people in their life. And they might not be ready to become more independent of those things or people, but other people are. If you were, and then after that we have the Virgo Hermit. Again, like the Eight of Pentacles, is about seeing the truth. And then the Four of Swords of Libra energy again, to heal. We go through these stages of life and we live these certain stages of life because we do have healing and growing and maturing to do. And we'll come into contact with other people that maybe could be in the same boat as us. Doesn't mean we're necessarily think the same or feel the same, or but we could have been loving and encouraging people to each other during that phase of life. And I think generally the high vibe people wish, and again, sometimes we were the ones who didn't want to move forward. And we could have had people in our life that it's like, I sure wish you'd see the truth of some things. I sure wish you'd grow up or mature yourself or work through your past pain and heartbreak or whatever it is to move forward with me. But we can't make other people see the truth of what they need to heal from, or see kind of if they are more immature or more caught up in the world or repeating old patterns. And so just like some people have felt that way towards us, we in turn sometimes are the ones who are wishing other people would see kind of some of the things that manipulate them and deal with their past pain and heartbreak. And just like some people had to move on from us because it's kind of like, I can't keep doing this. I've been there, I've done that, and I don't want to repeat that pattern. Sometimes we're the ones telling other people that. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep repeating this pattern. I've kind of either dealt with some issues within myself that used to stop me from maybe feeling more balanced within myself, loving myself, willing to be more independent versus more codependent or something. what I think is just and fair is different than what I could have thought was just and fair when I got in a situation. But as time has gone by, I kind of feel like maybe it kind of made me feel stuck. And maybe I did feel like it was more, maybe more immature, maybe indulging in things to make me feel better, caught up in the illusion of the world, maybe kind of superficial and shallow, whatever it could have been. Some people decided it makes me keep feeling stuck. And I could feel like I'm not getting the justice I deserve. So it could even be people who lack some insight, who aren't independent of their more shadowy nature. And then this can mean that in order to move forward in life, some people would have to put an end in the death card to some things that they might hide that they kind of think is just and fair. And they'd have to quit thinking those things were just and fair, you know? So sometimes people can be hurtful and unkind or bossy or more about themselves or... And then, you know, in order to move forward differently, they can't keep staying in denial of the truth. Love is supposed to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated, and if it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be because of love. And there's some people in the world that are unwilling to do love. I get hurt doing love, and shadowy energy can be then, you know, I might want to be in the relationship, enjoy the relationship, stay in it, but I'm not really going to do love. I'd have to free myself from my fears and my insecurities that I kind of think make me feel safe and secure, and so I think that's just and fair, and I'd have to detach from that way of viewing life. And some people are like, I'm not ready to do that. So when some high vibe people weren't willing to stay in something that they could have felt was more about staying in the job, the friendship, or the relationship, in a lot of ways, it could have looked just and fair. It could have looked very stable and abundant and Aquarius energy. It could have looked like a dream come true. But feeling like it really wasn't more just and fair or balanced, or maybe more authentic or inspired by love. And some people are like, I can't keep doing this. As I have went through it, and I've kind of got more clear about what my truth is and my truth isn't. Then we have the Six of Pentacles, which can be, is Taurus energy of our philosophy of life. The philosophy of life I had at one time, and then again in our Aquarius energy of kind of more about how I looked at life and if I did or didn't believe in myself or have more hope and faith and belief in myself, or believing I can manifest my dreams into reality. And maybe I was more caught up because Aquarius energy, also represented by the star card, can be like, oh my gosh, there's all these things in the world that I want to manifest, and those things are really important. And, you know, we can just be caught up in the illusion of the world, and we're not really living our more authentic truth because we make these things of the world that we want to manifest that we are sure is the key to our being happy. And it might be a part of our being happy, but are we in relationships with people, or in jobs and friendships and relationships with people where we kind of feel like, are we both kind of more motivated and inspired to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves, truth and love and justice and fairness? Or did we get in a more mismatched relationship with some people where their truth is, and shadowy energy can just be that you're kind of living more from your worldly egoic nature, and which can be you either make your life more about the world, and that's what you're supposed to do, and conform to the world, and act like this, and dress like this, and, Even if you're in jobs and friendships and relationships with people you don't really like, you do it anyway because the most important thing is to have a certain status or image in the world. And we can all get caught up in that. And sometimes we weren't really living our authentic truth. And at the end of the story of the bottom line, we have the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. And before that is the King of Swords, which is Libra energy. What is my truth? Do I believe in myself? Do I believe in my dreams? Am I more motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness? Is that how I'm living my life? Are those the kind of people I'm in relationship with? So, in the Six of Pentacles of Taurus energy, I think you can be motivated and inspired by love, but the first 30 to 50 years of our life, we can be pretty caught up in the world. And those things of the world that we want to manifest are really kind of keep us tilted more in favor of those things because, we really want those things and we really want to manifest those things. And we're really sure that even if it is kind of in some mismatched relationships, I'm sure it'll work out fine. I have hope and faith and belief and love. But if with the people that we do have different philosophies of life with, where their truth of how they want to move forward in their Libra and Aquarius energy, of how they view life, what they think is just and fair, both Libra energy and Aquarius energy, and of course the third air sign, which is Gemini, which is about our dualistic free will nature. Some people's truth is they are kind of more about the world, and that's why they get in relationships and want to stay in relationships. If they get to live more maybe from their mind than their heart, and if they're more driven and motivated more by themselves or these things of the world that to them is the most important thing, they would be willing to stay in relationships if it had those traits, qualities, and attributes to it. And some of them, they're never going to do love. And if people get in a more mismatched relationship and they realize that some people like to live more from their mind than their heart, that their truth is they are kind of more, don't want to do love because they get hurt, would rather operate from their more worldly, egoic nature of self-protection. I view the King of Swords as a person's self-protective, defensive nature. Could we have love for those people, whether they're our adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever? Yeah. Would we like to maybe, and with some of the people we can still be in friendship and relationship, we just acknowledge truth that your truth is kind of different than my truth, but hey, you go, and we tell them, yep, you go. You do you, I'll do me. But it's harder if it's someone who we've been like in a long-term friendship with, or we're good friends with, or a romantic interest, because then we were hoping we were going to be on the same page. And we could have known people for quite a long time. And sometimes you can be in relationships with people for a really long time, and you can work through a lot of different things in a relationship, to maintain kind of balance and compatibility in it. But eventually we could get down to the core foundational truth of, in our Gemini nature of our free will, of what really more ultimately drives people. Is it more having hope and faith and belief in themselves and in others and in love, or not so much, or like it to be more about them and you didn't realize that, or it really is more about how it benefits them or the status or the ego or the image of it? And with some of those people, the Four of Swords of Libra energy can talk about trying to heal a relationship. Well, in order to heal a relationship and keep moving it forward, everybody would have to be willing to Quit staying in denial, maybe, of some truth. And right below the Two of Swords is the Ace of Swords, which the King of Swords in Libra holds that sword. And I view the Queen of Swords as Aquarius energy. The Kings can represent how people present themselves in the world, male or female. But the feminine cards can talk about how we really think and feel. And we can get in friendships and relationships with people. And in the Six of Pentacles, we can exchange time, energy, effort, and resources with people. The Devil can mean that we both kind of challenge each other's belief systems, because I could think that they're a little bit more shadowy, and they challenge. It's like the devil challenges your belief systems. They tempt me in my more worldly nature to align with them, but I in turn could challenge them in their belief system, because they might be defensive to moving forward in a dream, believing in love, and I challenge them to have that more hopeful believing spirit in the Page of Wands. But until we get to that point with some people, we initially can, in the Four of Wands and the Queen of Wands and the Moon, we're drawn and attracted to certain people. And I think we're drawn and attracted to certain people because we do have free will, and it's all to kind of come in contact with all these different people, again, to help us get more clear about what our truth is and isn't. So we can come into contact with people who are a little more, whatever it could be. They could be immature. They could be defensive. They could be prideful. They could be more materialistically driven. They could be more self-driven. Whatever it is, right? Well, we could be, part of the reason we could be attracted to them in the Queen of Wands, and the Four of Wands, which is fire sign energy, kind of fired up, right? And the Devil can mean we're attracted to people. We can be attracted to people because it is in the Moon card, trying to help us work through kind of some of these things that are buried in our subconscious, and even things we don't really yet know about ourselves yet, right? The Moon is different than the Sun, right? In the Sun, we could see everything clearly. But, sometimes we don't even know, and we don't. The bottom row can reference that sometimes we don't want to see the truth about ourselves and some of the things that kind of drive and motivate us. And so we'll come into contact with these different people that does make us do this struggle within ourselves about, well, gee, I'd like to be in this situation, in this relationship for these reasons, but I also want to be in a relationship with people because of these reasons. And it's kind of to try to see, we have the free will to manifest whatever we want to manifest. And it's like, if this is your truth, in your Eight of Swords, the 8, the 9, and the 10 is Gemini energy. So in your dualistic free will nature, if this is your truth, you can keep moving forward with this truth. You might, in the Four of Cups, feel like you missed an opportunity in love because it's tilted a little bit more being influenced and in favor of making a decision more from your worldly egoic nature, which can be fear, insecurity, pride, ego, lust, greed, codependency. You could do that. But the thing is, when it's a more mismatched relationship, the high vibe people are kind of moving forward in it, but there's kind of a part of them that would kind of like to maybe stop being in it because it's not quite balanced. It's tipped more in favor of being more influenced by these reasons of the world. And if that's not their truth, it's kind of like hiding the truth that they might move forward with it more because, their love for someone or their fears of leaving it, or fears that maybe if they were to leave it, they wouldn't get justice. So maybe this makes logical, practical sense. We should keep moving forward with this anyway. And this looks really good by worldly standards. But if it's not your truth, you're kind of putting work and effort into kind of creating an illusion that, oh no, this is everything I wanted. And it's not to be like immature where it's like, well, I think I should get absolutely everything that I thought I wanted in life. That's, when we get in relationships with people, it's like two independent people, and everybody has to be willing to equally sacrifice some things if you're going to work together with someone else. If you just want to live your own life, well then, hey, you don't got to sacrifice anything. You get to go live your own life. But if you want to work with other people, we have to kind of work together. But the more shadowy it is, it can be the less people like you being your own individual and being more independent, or, because shadowy energy can be kind of bossy or controlling or egotistical, or it has to be more about one person versus the other person, or you should make it more about me, or my dreams are more important than your dreams, or, and in shadowy Four of Wands, which is Aries energy, but everybody in their own Aries energy of self can really be more about themselves. But in the moon card, it can be like they try to hide the fact that they're kind of a little bit more about themselves. Because otherwise, you've grown and matured yourself and you're more balanced. And it shouldn't be just more about you and your wants and your needs and your lust and your greed and your pride and your ego. But some people really are more about themselves. And then they could try to get in relationships with people who could harness this energy in a more high vibe way, and hope that because you could be stressed out if you're going to get justice and your dreams are going to come into reality, and you feel like you missed an opportunity in love, that if some of those people in the world were to approach you, that maybe you would be willing to work with them and create this illusion that everything's wonderful, and basically put an end to you living your authentic truth and getting the justice you deserve. And so you have the free will to do whatever you want, but I think high vibe energy doesn't want us to give up on our dreams, doesn't want us to settle for the illusion, to keep loving and believing in ourselves. And then that would be harnessing these energies in a more high vibe way. Do I have fears and insecurities just like everybody else? Yes. But within myself, I am inspired. And the moon can kind of represent our fears. And in the top row, we have the devil up there, which can talk about facing our fears. I'm going to listen to my intuition, which is also what the moon talks about. I am in a mental prison about maybe moving away from and detaching from some ways of living life, reviewing life, jobs, friendship, or relationship. But I can't keep hiding my truth. And I want the justice I deserve. And the only way I can get the justice I deserve is if I don't keep investing time, energy, and effort into the illusion. I need to speak my truth. And I need to work through all my fears and insecurities about speaking my truth and standing up for myself. And I have to work through all these things that kind of manipulate me, because the difference between the Eight of Swords and the King of Swords holding one sword is the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, which is like, oh my gosh, I could stay. The Four of Wands can talk about coming together with other people. There's people I could be in a friendship or relationship or workplace with, but I feel like there can be a lot of things I like about it. And I could have love for the people, or I could love the job. I could love the city or the state or whatever. But if I feel the difference, like in our Gemini energy, our truth is different. What we think is just and fair is different. How we want to move forward is different. Our ideas of how we expect this to move forward is different. What they could think is just and fair and what I think is just and fair is different. And then also in the Seven of Swords, it could be that maybe feeling like people are being deceptive or manipulative, or some people do think, it's kind of more about them, and maybe they should be the more indulged person in the relationship. And if people have been offering truth and love and trying to maintain balance within themselves and offering truth and love to other people to move forward with them, but the other people are like, nope, I'm going to stay here. This is my truth. Well, kind of in our Gemini and Aquarius energy of our idea of the dream life. And again, for some people, it's that I want to keep hiding behind my defensive egoic nature. I don't really want to let, in the Page of Wands, my more authentic, loving, vulnerable nature to come out to play in the world. But if the other people are doing that, well, do we want to keep exchanging resources with someone who's operating from their more defensive, egoic nature? I'll be in the relationship with you. I'll exchange resources with you. I'll kind of, in my fire sign devil energy, indulge in the relationship and enjoy it. But I'm in a mental prison about truth and love and justice and fairness and being more vulnerable. Well, then why are they in it? Well, I'm in it so long I might not like not being in a relationship. It makes it look like I move forward. It makes it look like I have the dream life just like other people have the dream life. Look, I have what other people have. It might look really victorious and successful in a lot of ways. But they're never willing in the death card to do this inner work to heal from whatever it is that makes them defensive to love, being more about themselves, more aligned with their more worldly egoic nature. So sometimes it's being in a relationship with someone who either in the devil could be, again, just someone who really tempts you to stay in a job, a friendship, or relationship more for these reasons of the world, because that's their truth. That's why they get in relationships, want to be in relationships, and stay in relationships. And the other people are like, what about truth and love and justice and fairness? And the other people are like, well, I'm not doing that. And that's sometimes when a relationship ends. Because the thing is, if other people are in a relationship and it's more for these other reasons, even if they're moving forward in a relationship where they don't feel stuck, where they feel they've gotten justice, where things are like, wow, this is really great. I'm working with someone who might be loving and encouraging. You can be in those friendships, relationships, or jobs for a long time until it could get down to this core truth of what's really more important to them. And if love was never what was more the driving factor in their life, because they maybe really don't do love anyway, shadowy energy can be, I'm going to use my emotions manipulatively, my charm, my words, my sexuality, my social clout, my power, my money, my whatever I got. I'm going to use all those things kind of more in a manipulative way, because I really don't do truth and love an authenticity. And it's more of a strategy, and I live more from my mind than my heart. Well, as people could be moving forward, even in a relationship, that they're thinking, damn, I have got it going on, and this is great. I can't imagine what would ever make me get out of this relationship. The whole thing is, the divine knows that this is not a just and fair and balanced relationship. And that's when, even if the other people don't do something hurtful and unkind and bossy and controlling or immature to try to stop the loving people from keep growing and maturing themselves, because, if they're already faking one level of way of being, but now you've changed or something, or they got to be more just or more fair. It's like breaking through, kind of with my nesting dolls over there. When you decide, that's it, I'm done, I got to quit acting, say, like an 18-year-old. I need to see the truth of what needs to go and what I need to leave behind. And I need to be reborn. That's also the death card being Scorpio. I need to give birth to a new me. I need to shed an old layer of myself. People can go through stages of life with us, and we can all kind of change and heal and grow, shed old layers of ourselves. But then we could get to a point where, do I have more hope and faith and belief in myself, in others, and in love? And that's when some people, it's like, I really want to move forward in this, but the Seven of Swords talks about, I have all this mental conflict about, I kind of never thought I was going to have to do that. I thought, I'd be able to be in a relationship and live more from my mind than my heart. And I thought maybe it could be more about me, or maybe because if it had the status or the ego or the image or the social clout, or I was charming or blah, 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 that I wouldn't really have to do that. And that can get to where it gets in a relationship where people are like, it has to be less being motivated to be in it for these reasons of the world, and to want to be in it more authentically motivated by truth and love. And love is to be just and fair. And so then it can't be more about you, it being more about you, or you being more immature or bossy or controlling or stubborn, or more about yourself, or just in your more emotionally defensive nature. And that's when some people can't kind of bridge that gap. And over here we had fire sign energy, and over here we have the Page of Wands, which can represent all three of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about going on this adventure and higher learning and education, and so kind of an Aquarius energy of looking at life from a higher perspective. And some people really don't. Some people could think love is fantasy land. That really people get in relationships more for these reasons. And if we get along and we're attracted to each other and we like each other, then we should stay in it. And other people are like, but I feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love because I don't feel like I'm in a relationship who's authentically motivated by love. Like, it's like acting like love and quacking like love, but I don't think you really let yourself love other people. And the devil's like, no, that's the danger zone. I would have to have more hope and faith and belief and trust in others and in love to do that. And I don't. I have all these fears maybe that, Anyway, what could end up happening? Because God knows it's a more imbalanced relationship. And if God knows that you've offered truth and love to people, well, there's probably going to be things that Or in both people's lives it could happen, where people are going to see people that seem to be more aligned with their truth. And we all kind of like to hang out with people who are more aligned with our truth. If someone is more about, I like being more about me and these things of the world, and that's how I derive my sense of worth and value, or maybe I like to be more, mm, just someone where it's like more about those things, or making that what's more important in your life, or kind of maybe being a little more the center of attention, they're going to want to hang out with other people who want to live their life that way. So they will see people that attract them. Because the whole thing is, we should all be living our truth, whatever it is. If you were to look at, again, we're all whatever emotional maturity level we're at, right? So we can all relate to a degree of when we were like 15 and 18 and 21 and 25. Well, the fact is, some people never really want to go past the emotional maturity level in a way of beyond a 25-year-old. You know, I don't want to have to keep growing and healing and maturing myself. I don't have things I want to let go of. And if in that 25-year-old emotional maturity level, no offense to any 25-year-olds, but that still is really what drives and motivates them. Some people could stay in that energy all their life, and they never look at life from a higher perspective. And it could be even, I don't believe there's any higher truth or justice to aspire to in this world. I just don't. I think this is the world we were born into. If we'd been born in the 1900s or the 1950s or whatever era or decade, the world would have told us, this is what's important, wear this, act like this, do this, don't do that. And I live in the era or phase of life that I live in, and that's what I think is important. And I think I'll enjoy my life. Other people will like me. And so it can be just a little bit more about conforming to the world instead of continuing to grow and heal and mature yourself, where I think there is a higher truth and justice. And part of the higher truth and justice is not being more about yourself and just indulging yourself in about you or your status or your ego or your image or whatever, but to be loving and encouraging people to other people. And some people could hear me say that and they're like, well, yeah, duh. But there's other people in the world that are like, what? Why? Why do I give a damn about any of those people? Why would I want to be loving and encouraging to them? It could take some of the attention or spotlight off of me. That's much more shadowy energy, because shadowy energy and shadowy Aquarius can be, I want to be viewed as a shining star. I want to be viewed as the most beautiful or the most successful or the most charming or the most handsome or the most successful. Why would I be loving and encouraging to anybody else and give them a round of applause or a clap on the back? All of that could take away from me. you know? And I mean, it's just the way different people think in the world. If we want the world to be a better place, how about you be a shining light in the world, and high vibe Aquarius, and be a loving, encouraging person to people in the world, maintain balance within yourself, offer the pages, just talk about small messages to people in your everyday life with anybody you come into contact with. I choose to be a positive light in the world. Be positive and loving and encouraging to people to help them maybe work through any fears or insecurities or self-limiting beliefs that they have. But there also comes a point in life too where it's like, where before we could have gotten much more involved with people in a relationship, even though we saw that, oh wow, yeah, we're like completely different. And that can be us kind of in our own God complex, like, oh, I'm going to change this person. Oh, I know God. I see them. I see them being this way and that way. I'm going to change them. Well, God would say, get out of your ego and accept the truth that everybody is where they're at. You can be a loving and encouraging person to people's life, but do you have the same truth and dream? If not, see the truth of it and defend your dreams. And until some other people work through whatever it is that they need to work through and become independent of and heal to kind of be, again, people can be older, younger, whatever. But if you see some people kind of repeating a pattern of a way of living life, like you've been there and you've done that, I don't want to go back. It'd be like, say you're in junior high and you hung around people that were like, or new people who were bullies, male or female, right? And you meet someone like that, it's like, well, I might like you and I might be attracted to you. Do I want to go re-engage in that environment? No, I've gotten out of that environment. And if that's still the way you live life or view life, until you work through that and you've come out on the other side of it, no, we view life differently. So then it gets to seeing the truth that just because we can like people, just because we can be attracted to people, if people we don't feel kind of gotten more balance within themselves, are more about themselves, have things they like to indulge in, because high vibe energy is being enlightened to the truth that we need to heal from past pain and heartbreak, get out of our being more consumed with ourself and our ego or our fear, insecurity, and until being a loving, encouraging person in people's life, but not getting in a more involved relationship with them until they heal. And while they're doing whatever they're doing, you keep moving forward, being inspired by your truth, and, go with the flow. And maybe as time goes by, as they keep moving forward in their truth and doing what they do and what they enjoy or what they think will make them happy or based on their view of life, as time goes by, you might even see the truth that, as time goes by, that kind of seeing the truth and working through the illusion and seeing that, yeah, no, that would have never worked. How sometimes we can, and I think the reason I always bring it up, because I think usually we've had experiences of that when we were younger, but like how you could have met somebody and then maybe they're dating someone, say when you're younger, right? And then as time goes by, and then you hear things from the person that they're dating with or just get to know them more. And I was just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I did not get more involved in a relationship any more than I was, because, oh my gosh, I had no idea, And, it takes time to get to know people. Right now, some people could be in relationships with people that they could be attracted to. Right now, people could just be making small gestures to each other, for those of you who are single. And just trying to work through that Seven of Swords, maybe of trying to get to know each other, because the more people have went through experiences where people weren't who they said they were, the less they're interested in jumping into a relationship. That's like fire sign energy. So there could be people who could definitely be attracted to people that they're exchanging time, energy, and effort with in some way, in the neighborhood, in the community, in a workplace. And everybody could kind of be hiding there a little bit up in their head about it, because they've learned to kind of stand up for themselves, and they've already been in more shadowy relationships, and Everybody could be working on kind of still emotionally detaching from the past to have more hope and faith in their future. And people could be hiding from some people that they think there's some people in their environment that they really think they could get justice with, but they're just gonna keep going with the flow. It's kind of trusting that I'm not going to take action more out of fear, insecurity, pride, ego, immaturity. I'm going to take action standing up for myself, my truth, in a balanced way, being loving and communicating with other people. I'm going to keep moving forward in my truth. And if nothing comes of those things, then I believe that nothing was going to come of that, right? And go with the flow. And some people in your life who are more about the world, more about themselves, trying to control people, like to live more from their mind than their hearts. Like, yep, I mean, you go do you. That is not my truth. That's why I moved away. And as time goes by, Scorpio, the death card, talks about being able to emotionally detach as you work through the confusion, because there was some people in your life that you thought would be and maybe were at one time more just and fair and seem more balanced and stable. But there's no guarantee when people are going to kind of start driving their life off into the ditch and they quit listening to the truth, quit aligning with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and they start to give in to their more shadowy nature of self. And again, part of that can be because the divine knew you maybe wouldn't leave if they wouldn't do that. And it was time for you to move on, but you might not have wanted to see the truth of it. So then it's kind of like God knows what your dreams are and what you want to manifest. God knows what other people really want to manifest. And it's different. So sometimes that kind of makes me think of that Garth Brooks song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers, right? I believe the divine has a bigger and better plan for my life than if I took action more out of pride or ego or codependency or lust or greed. So I'm going to keep moving forward with the people in my life who challenge me to love and believe in myself. And I could, for other people, kind of challenge them. Because we can have people in our life that we really like and love, friends or family, but we can still kind of challenge each other in either being more hopeful and believing or kind of standing up for ourselves with other people in our life to keep maintaining balance. So we kind of can, in the devil card, kind of challenge each other to maybe kind of stand up for ourselves with other people in our life as us being in relationship or friendship with each other, that maybe if we weren't in some of those friendships or relationships, maybe we would be more tempted to align with our more worldly nature or indulge other people in poor behavior. And so there's some people in our life that, even though there can be some differences there, the Page of Wands can be that what we do have in common is more important than the things we don't have in common. And then we want to keep maintaining balance in that relationship, even though in the Seven of Swords, it can kind of, with some of those people in our life, we can kind of get up in our head about it. And sometimes we could think, well, maybe I shouldn't keep hanging out with them or move forward with them. But then we kind of look at life from a higher perspective. And again, we don't have to view life the same way and have the same, like, philosophical viewpoints on life. But if we're loving and encouraging to each other, you know, like people could have, uh, you could be of different ages, you could be of different genders, you could be of different ethnic groups, you could have kind of cultural differences from different ways of having grown up. But if we feel like we're loving and encouraging of each other, we kind of don't let those more things that we were where we could conflict from a more worldly perspective kind of interfere with those things. It's like, well, who cares if they're like this or they're like that? Like, it's kind of funny sometimes if you meet some people or have had those friendships where it's quite different. It's like, okay, so they have blue hair and a nose ring, and you're like a pinned up, buttoned up lawyer. It's like, I don't know. I don't see this. It's like, well, we both really like this and this and this, or even just that you're intelligent or smart or the way you make each other look at life kind of differently. But, it's those kind of things that you overcome the things of the world that could separate and divide you, because kind of that more hopeful, believing, being just and fair and loving and encouraging to each other kind of supersedes that. What's coming out for some people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they don't see coming? The Ten of Swords. Why? Because of the King of Cups. So the Ten of Swords can talk about closing out a cycle, and then you come out with the Ace of Swords. And just like after the Ten of Wands, you come out with the Page of Wands. So what the high vibe people don't see coming is that because they offered love and took action from love, offered them self-love, offered the situations in their life and other people in their life love, it helps them work through all these challenging situations in their life to be willing to deal with the truth. That there's just some relationships that, we can't maybe heal a relationship with some people because both people have to be motivated and inspired to want to heal it, And some people don't want to heal it because some people it's like, well, I'm going this way and this is my truth. And you want to go that way and that's your truth. We can't get justice in the situation because our truth. But that could be at a more core foundational level of you want to do love, and I really don't want to do love. And I really do want it to be more about me, or I am more motivated by whatever I indulge in or make my life about. And because of that, you get to complete a cycle. And we'll all keep repeating a pattern, but the truth sets us free. And when we learn the lesson we were meant to learn from a phase of life, and this could be saying, like, no longer in denial that some relationships that you were in, because the Six of Pentacles of Taurus energy can kind of represent all these different institutions of the world, from relationships to workplaces. The Devil card in, like, the Rider-Waite deck, it looks just like the Lover's card, except in the Devil card, instead of having the angel there as, like, the third party, what is the more driving influence is kind of more of these things of the world that could have brought you together with some people. And then the people have chains and shackles on them. So it's a little oppressive, limiting, restrictive, and it could have just been more transactional because of these things of the world that we want. And some people are like, I don't want to be in a more transactional relationship for these reasons of the world. If you want to do truth and love, we can move forward, and you realize that some people, that's not their truth. And that's not how they want to move forward. They want to move forward in their Gemini nature, living more from their mind than their heart, and kind of wearing a false mask, looking like love, acting like love. But the kings in shadow can be that people are operating more from their egoic nature. And you don't want to be in a relationship with people who operate more from their egoic nature, because that's like the opposite of your truth. You really are, that's high vibe King of Cups, taking action inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. And the other people might want to be in a relationship with you because that would seem like they got justice in the world, but you'd be in a relationship with someone who's a little more worldly or shadowy, and you want to be in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as you. And you're not willing to settle for the illusion anymore. If it's not truth and love, then I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep moving on. I'm not going to move forward with you, and I'm going to move forward to go get the justice I deserve. And because you chose to not keep investing in what wasn't aligned with your truth, and to heal and grow and mature and work through your fears and insecurity, it sets you free to go get the justice you deserve. So I think you will get justice because you're taking action in truth and love. And I think as you move forward in that energy, other people know you could get in relationships more for these other reasons, but you're not. They know they could get in relationships for these other reasons, or they could put an end to that, and they could get the justice they deserve being in a relationship with someone who challenges them to love and believe in themselves and face their fears. And you can do that for each other. And so then the devil can be that you're dealing with another human being and exchanging resources with someone you could be attracted to, which can put a lot of fear in you. But you choose to keep being inspired by truth and love and doing this work within yourself to believe you deserve truth and love, and work together with people from that way. And that if at some time people don't seem to be acting in a more just and fair way, kind of in high vibe Scorpio, I'm willing to go on the roller coaster of life. I'm not going to just jump into anything. I'm going to use my best judgment and get to know people. But if with some of those people, I think they are being truthful and honest and authentic, then I'm willing to go on that roller coaster. High vibe Scorpios exploring the mysteries of life. Wanting to move forward with other people who've done this inner work and healed. Who aren't living more from their mind than their heart. Who have offered love to themselves, to believe they deserve just and fair and loving relationships, and not keep staying in relationships with people where they don't have that. So what's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming up? So basically the high vibe people who have known people who present themselves as loving, but it's not really love that drives and motivates them. They're getting out of those relationships. The Seven of Wands in reverse and the Aquarius star card in reverse. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. So the Queen of Wands I view as Leo energy. You know, we have to get out of our ego nature, any shadowy kind of nature that we have, and our more emotionally defensive nature, in order to move forward in life differently, keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves. But the shadowy people never do that. They kind of somewhere along the way kind of gave up on their dreams and being inspired within themselves. And instead, they just aligned with their more worldly egoic nature. But they're always going to have people in their life who could meet them, attracted to them, want to be in a relationship with them, or just friends and family, right? But those people want to bring a dream into reality. And if the other people are unwilling to kind of stand up to their own more shadow nature or defensive nature or immature nature or prideful nature or bossy or controlling nature or whatever it is, some other people in their life are going to quit standing up and defending them. And if they're trying to bring a dream into reality, but the other people kind of want to just keep moving forward the way it is, like not wanting to bring justice to the situation. Let's just keep doing this longer. There's going to be eventually some people that I don't think this is going to be a victory worth defending, and I don't think my dream is going to come into reality here. And out of kind of love for myself, though I'm sad, I have a dream. And if this isn't your dream, it's not your dream. And I wish you peace, and I'm moving on. And I'm going to do this work within myself to face my fears, to go get the justice I deserve. Because it's not happening here. And I think the more shadowy people can always be kind of shocked when other people work through their fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs. Because this could look really good by worldly standards. But that is kind of like shadowy energy represented by the devil. You could be in a relationship with me and you would look like you have all these things of the world. It's like, yes, but I would have to give up my dream. And I'm being truthful and authentic and just and fair, and you're not. And I don't think that's just and fair. You know, and sometimes people try to use the love that we have for them to manipulate and control us. You won't leave. I know you love me. You'll be sad. It's like, I might be sad, but I'm leaving you anyway. Just like we could have friends or family members that we love, we'd like to get along with them, but if they're bossy or controlling or immature, backstabbing, whatever, I'm not going to keep spending time with you. But I think shadowy people could think, because you care for me or love me, I don't think you'll end trying to heal this relationship. And high vibe people are like, I can always be in the energy of love, but I'm going to keep moving forward in my truth. And I guess if you want to communicate with me, you know, I think we've probably seen some shadowy behavior going on here. And if you want to communicate your truth to me, if you ever get more balanced within yourself and want to communicate your truth to me, you know, come communicate your truth to me. And if you don't, in the meantime, I'm moving forward and going to invest in people who are communicating their truth and working together with me and being loving and encouraging and supportive. And some people are very upset because they have this way of viewing life and they wanted you to view life that way too, and for you to indulge them in their poor behavior, and you said no. And some of those people are not willing to get out of their ego and look at life from a higher perspective. And the most important thing maybe is their ego, and that people view them a certain way, and they could feel like that is something that doesn't jive with their image of themselves or something. So some of those people are just going to keep moving forward, hiding that they might like to heal a relationship with some people, but too prideful and egotistical to do it for some. But for other people, they're glad not to be living an illusion anymore, because they really are living their authentic truth. And when they were in relationship with some more just, fair, balanced, loving people, in a lot of ways could have seemed great by worldly standards, but it wasn't their truth. That isn't really what drives and motivates them. And maybe they are more superficial, shallow, more about themselves, and they really want to be in relationships where they can be more authentically themselves. And for some of them, it doesn't bother them at all, because some of them don't want to do love. Some of them are all about putting in work and effort to either indulge himself, or the most important thing is to create the certain illusion about their life. And since they're kind of more superficial and shallow anyway, in shadowy Scorpio and the Four of Cups, it's not love that drives and motivates them anyway. So what they'll see is more high vibe people leave their life, and other people who aren't inspired to look at life from a higher perspective will probably want to be in friendship and relationship with them. And that's fine. It's kind of like, wherever you are on the spectrum of, complete narcissism and treat people atrociously to like Jesus and Mother Teresa, the rest of us are somewhere on the spectrum in between there. We need different strokes for different folks to have free will to view other people's life. And it's like, would I like to live my life like that? Do I agree with that? Do I not agree with it? What's just and fair is for people to be in relationships with people who kind of are motivated and inspired by the same things they are. And if people are more caught up in the illusion of the world, like to live more from their mind than their heart, I would much rather have them in relationship with people who think that way too, than trying to trap people who aren't on that same page. And just like loving people shouldn't try to make people who aren't more motivated and by love or to grow or mature or temper their ego or whatever it is. It's like, hey, you go do you. Out of love for you, you go live your life. And I'm going to quit trying to change people. And that's what some high vibe people have learned. I can meet people, I could like them, I could be attracted to them. But yeah, now I've seen the truth that, everybody's at these different places. Sometimes we can all be the same age, but everybody can be at these different maturity levels and what they think is just and fair in a relationship. I'm going to get to know people to learn about what their truth is and what they think is just and fair and what drives and motivates them. And regardless of why I could maybe want to be in a relationship with them, if our truth is different, I'm no longer deceiving myself. We have different ideas of what we think is just and fair, and I'm going to keep going on my journey to find the people that are more on the same page as me, because I've already learned that lesson, and other people who haven't are going to get more mismatched from the get-go. And odds are those won't move forward victoriously and successfully because they're inspired by a different truth. High vibe people don't want to be in a relationship with people who wear a false mask or are more motivated by their ego, and other people, still for something regarding worldly egoic energy is more what they're driven and motivated by. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.